In this video, I'm going to talk about how we can write for loops that increment by more than one. So just quickly reviewing the for loops we've done before. So our for loop takes three parameters. First, we have to give it a starting point, so something like var I equals 0. Then while I is less than, greater than some type of condition, so let's say I want this to run 10 times, I do while I is less than 10, and then I have my incrementer. So I need to make sure I is changing so we aren't in an infinite loop. Oops, there we go. So I++ is what we have used previously to increase our loop, our I by 1, so this would run 10 times. And then if I simply do a document dot write, I'll write out whatever I is each time the loop runs. And bring this over. I didn't put breaks in, so it's just 0, 1, 2, 3 without any breaks, but that is what we were expecting. So that's what we've done previously. But now, I'm going to go ahead and add my break tag in here for the future. There we go. Okay, that looks better. All right, so now what we're looking at in this lesson is how can we increase by something other than just 1, or how can we decrease? We don't always have to go up. So let's change this to 100 and say that what I want to output instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up to 100 is I want to do just like 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. So I want to go up by 5s. Well, that's where we can use, instead of I++, we can do I plus equals 5. So this plus equals is an operator that does addition. It adds the I and the 5, but then the equals takes whatever that new value is and puts it back in to I. So initially, the first time this runs, I is 0. So it's going to write out 0, document.write 0. Then it's going to come over here and it's going to say, okay, 0 plus equals 5. So 0 plus 5 is 5. Store that back in I is now 5, etc. And we'll see that when we refresh this, there we go, 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up to 95. And that is because we did less than 100. If I wanted to include 100, then I could just throw in a less than or equals 100 and then refresh that. And there we go, 100. So that is how we can increment by something other than just 1. So if I do like I plus equals 3, okay, going up by 3s, etc. But what if I wanted to go down? If I wanted to reverse this, what I can do now is maybe set I like equal to 100. And if, say, I want to go down to 0, well, now instead of I is less than or equal to 100, I want to run this while I is greater than 0. So I'm going backwards. So while I is greater than 0, then run this loop. I don't want to say while I is less than 0 because it's never going to be less than 0 because we're starting with a positive number. I want to say while I is greater than 0. So I'm starting at 100. I want to start going down. Let's say I go down by 10s. So I want to go 100, 90, 80, etc. So until it gets to 0, I want it to subtract 10. Well, it's the same concept. Instead of doing plus equals, I'm going to do minus equals, and then whatever I want to subtract. So in this case, let's say I want to subtract 10. Refresh. There we go, 100, 90, 80, etc. down to 10. And once again, if I wanted it to actually get to 0, then I would do greater than or equal to 0 instead of just greater than. But these operators, the minus equals, I'll just come down here and put these. So we have the plus equals, we have minus equals. We also can use times equals, and we can use divide equals. So we can use any of our normal operators that we have used so far, and we can combine those. And basically what this is doing is basically saying, so if I could write the statement var x equals x plus 10. And actually that would already have to equal something, so let me just do this real quickly and make this more accurate. Var x equals, let's say var x equals 0 is there. So I set x equal to 0, then I have x equals whatever x currently is, which is 0 plus 10, and then I store it back in there. So this statement, x plus equals 10, is doing the exact same thing as the statement above. It's just a much shorter, more concise, easier way to write, but you can write it either way. And then, as I mentioned, all of these work the same way. Minus equals, times equals, divide equals are all exactly the same.